Hello and welcome to another edition of Another Book Review. This week I'll be reviewing Bird by Bird by Ann Lamott. I'll talk real briefly about the author, go into what this book is about, what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it, who I'd recommend the book to, and finish off with what I'll be reading for next time. Ann Lamott is a writer of both fiction and nonfiction. She is also a writing teacher who lives in the San Francisco area. She's been writing for something like 40 years at this point. And this is, to my knowledge, her most famous work, Bird by Bird, which is really her advice on writing and life. And it goes into, it's kind of designed to be similar to her writing classwork, her coursework as a writing teacher. And she goes through several different subjects, some of which you'll find in other writing advice books, some of which are more closer to life advice. She has one of my favorite chapters in the book is a chapter on jealousy, where she talks about kind of the natural feelings of jealousy that you may have as a writer when you know other writers who may be more successful than you are. And that, to me, the book has a very, very human quality. And if you're looking for a practical guide on writing, they're probably better uses of your time. But I think she really goes into kind of writing almost as like a spiritual exercise. And if you come at it from that angle, I think the book is really fulfilling. I think it's very, very funny. It's hard to read this and not be just impressed by the humor that comes out of the book. Obviously, like all humor, it's subjective. It may not be your cup of tea. But there are definitely times that I thought the book was laugh out loud funny. And I thought that it fit in well with kind of not taking itself super seriously, but also still trying to be rewarding to the reader. And I think it handles kind of those two things really well. It's pretty clear that Ann Lamott is a talented writer. The book is very well written. The stories she uses to illustrate her points are very well written. The other thing that I kind of liked a lot, the chapter on writer's block that she has here, there's a lot of writing advice books that do have chapters on writer's block, but I thought hers looked at it in a slightly different way, and I thought that the different angle it takes, I thought was really interesting. Some of the things I didn't like as much, because there is some parts of it that are writing advice, some of the chapters may not apply to you if you're coming at it from more of a writing advice perspective. There's a chapter in the book, and most of the chapters are relatively short, but there's one on writing groups. And so if you're someone who has no desire to use a writing group, that chapter may not be particularly applicable to what you're doing. And I think that as far as the proportion of writing advice to life advice, everybody's going to kind of want something a little bit different. I think I wished there was a little bit more practicality in the book than there really was. And I think that because there is not as much of that as I would have liked, I think that the book overall, while I enjoyed reading it, I didn't feel it was super sticky. I mean, I feel I read it and then most of the advice and things like that have kind of left my mind already. And so I think I had that problem as well with it. I enjoyed it while I was reading it, and I enjoyed it for what it was. But if you're looking for something more of a practical guide, I reviewed a book in the channel. I'll leave a link in below called Writing Without Rules by Jeff Sommers. I thought that was a better, like from a practical standpoint than this was. I kind of looked at this more on a line with Stephen King's On Writing, and that's, if you enjoyed that book, I could see you enjoying this book. They actually do have some overlap as far as some of the advice or some of the ways that they view writing that I thought was really intriguing. I think this came out originally in 1994, and I think On Writing came out in the early 2000s. But the way they kind of talk about, quote-unquote, the muse was actually remarkably similar. So I thought that was kind of an interesting point, that both these people who really live on opposite sides of the country and may have never met, kind of viewed it the same way, while they view all these other things vastly different. So I thought that was cool. So that's Bird by Ann Lamott. I think if you're someone who enjoys books on writing advice and you come at it more from a less from a practical standpoint and more for the underlying reasons why people write and how that's maybe helpful to you, then definitely check it out. Next time I'm going to be reading something a little bit different. George R.R. Martin's Fever Dream. I'm going to be reading that and reviewing that. So until next time, like I said, I'll leave a link to the Jeff Sommers book below, and I will also leave my Twitter handle if you want to follow me on Twitter. And feel free to please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Until next time, bye.